I was at the car dealership one day doing an appraisal on a little truck with this big honking hitch in the back of it. I'm going, this isn't safe. Like, so I had to ask the client trading the vehicle. I said, hey, what are you doing with this? And he says, I tow a dump trailer behind on the weekends and I do garbage removal. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, you're full-time military. You got 5 kids at home and you're doing this on the weekends. How much money can you possibly be earning to make this worthwhile to take that time away from your family? And he says, about $1,000 a weekend. So it's about $4,000 extra a month. And I went, huh. I looked at the salesperson that was helping him. I looked at the customer. I said, I'm going to buy a garbage company. They laughed. I laughed. And I went home that night and I bought the garbage company.
Well, thank you for joining us for episode 12 of the Interesting People You Meet podcast. Myself, Nick Momberquette, co-host Nathan Dover, and our special guest, Matt Maclean, today, I guess, joining us from Alberta. Where in Alberta are you at, Matt?
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me. We are in Sherk Park, Alberta, so just outside of it.
Perfect. And Matt is as an entrepreneur and business coach. He's involved in many different businesses and is a business coach. So we're very excited to dig in on a couple of his entrepreneurial ventures, as well as find out more about what he's doing in the business coaching realm. So Matt, why don't you tell the audience and us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, right on. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Nick, you know a little bit about me. We kind of grew up in the same part of the world at a very young age.
Absolutely.
I had a different view. I didn't know what I wanted, but I wanted something more. I ended up moving out west. I was about 17 years old. I didn't finish high school. I came out to work on an oil rig, and I still haven't seen one to this day. So I'm very blessed in that side of things. But I did know I wanted more in life, so I just kind of kept working hard and harder and harder. And I bumped into a mentor who taught me that I didn't have to work harder anymore. I could work a little bit smarter and I could start doing these things. So originally from Nova Scotia, moved out to Alberta. I got into the car industry and I spent a good 17, 18 years in the automotive world. But as I was doing that, again, I had found my mentors in life. And kind of what happened is I became such a good student of all of this information. I always say I have books and books filled or bookcases filled with books from highly successful, highly recommended people that are making things happen. And, I could read these books all day long, but it wasn't until I found a mentor, somebody to help me take this information and apply it into my life, that things really started to change. So that's kind of what happened. I moved out here, found a mentor, found some awesome things and started doing some really cool things and got into business a little bit.
That's pretty awesome. Can we talk a bit more about the mentor situation and how that came up? I'll share my story quickly. I was in the insurance business. I was probably 21 years old, just graduated university. It was the first thing I ever did outside of like part-time jobs. I spent about a year in it, literally banging my head off the wall, wondering why, I was making like 20 grand a year, which oddly at that time was enough to live off of, but certainly not going to help me grow into my dreams and aspirations in family and career. So then one day this guy, noticed me. He was actually working at the firm that I was working at, and he knocked on my door and he just said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. He said, "Are you ready to quit yet?" And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "What do you, that's pretty, I thought he was a bit of a jerk for saying that." And then we went out to lunch and then it started, and he's been my mentor ever since. And so I know what that means and what that relationship is. So what's your sort of story? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, you got it. It was really unique. I got into multi-level networking business in the beginning when I first moved here. I had somebody telling me this dream, and I knew I wanted more, but I had no clue how to get it. I never had people around me to show me the way, to say, hey, you should do this, right? I grew up in poverty, and I moved into the West, and I was still earning a poverty wage because that's what I had been taught. So I jumped into this multi-level marketing business. And I got, sold on the fact that I had to take the tools to get ahead in the business, listen to the CDs and the books. And there was a book that I grabbed, and I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it talked about a positive mental mindset and talking about how this one thing could literally change everything. And I remember reading that book from front to back in a night. And that was a huge thing for me because I had never even read a book before, right? So this thing grabbed me for some reason, and I knew I had to pay attention to it. And, I just started kind of changing my attitude a little bit, which led me to sitting down with a group of people and watching a movie called The Secret. The movie came out in 2006, and one of the people on the movie just grabbed my attention, just commanded my attention for some reason. He was talking about things that just made sense to me, talking about, how we think creates the way we feel, and how we feel sets up this magnet to attract the people, things, and resources based upon how we're thinking and feeling. And it caught me, and I had to know more. And I kept hearing him talk about, the science of getting rich and all of this stuff. And all I knew is I wanted to be more successful. I wanted to be rich. So I figured out who it was, and the gentleman's name was Bob Proctor. So this is in 2006. And I Googled him online, and I found a program called The Science of Getting Rich. And it was based upon a little green book from 1908 written by Wallace D. Wattles. And the book said, hey, listen, if you follow everything that I say in this book to the T, you will be successful. Well, I had nothing to lose. And I think people with nothing to lose have everything to gain. So I really took the book to heart, and I started digging into it, and things started to change in my life. In fact, I took my income from what I was earning, and you could times it by 5. And I did that in a 2.5-month span. So I became a believer. And alongside the book was a program that was developed by Bob Proctor called The Science of Getting Rich. And I took that program with the book and I became a believer. So then shortly after that, I took a Bob Proctor coaching program, which was a 14-month coaching program, which was mentor guided, to teach you how to take all the shelf help that we already have, all the things that we already know, and how to actually apply them into life to get the results that we want. Within that 14-month span, I had opened up my first business, Direct Dumpsters. It's a garbage company here in Sherwood Park. And I had obtained a position inside of the auto industry that I had thought was 5 or 6 years ahead of my time. So again, I took the knowledge, the information that someone else spent 100 years putting together from successful people, and I started to apply it into my life. And I started to see the changes. Well, what happened shortly after that was I started to feel selfish. I started to feel so selfish that here's this kid with no education when it comes down to diplomas or certificates, those type of things. I was winning, right? I was earning more than most of the people I was hanging out with at the time. My businesses were starting to take off. But I just couldn't figure out, because I would hand people books and I would talk to them about the things I was learning, but nothing was changing for them. And it was like, So what was the key was helping people understand how to apply the information that they're learning, right? And why they're doing the things that they're doing. So I started going, I really want to help people in this realm, because I know there were so many people that were like me, that grew up in poverty, that, had no hope at some point in time, that were depressed and down and out. And I just remembered how much I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I knew there were so many people that felt that way. And there was such an easy way to make that transition from feeling that way to being super, fulfilled and moving towards what you really want in life. So that really got me excited, knowing that it doesn't take anything special to be able to make that change. It just takes a little bit of awareness of what we need to do and change. So then it just, I was at work one day. I was actually still working in the car dealership. And, all these things are happening. I'm working in the car dealership. My dumpster business is taking off, right? It's a kind of a slow grow type thing. And I'm doing all this coaching and my cell phone rings. And on the other end, it was, "Hi, is this Matt?" And I was like, "Yeah, who's this?" And I hear, "It's Bob." And I'm like, "Bob? Bob who?" And I had worked for Bob before. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's my old boss, Bob. He says, "It's Bob Proctor." And I went, "Oh my gosh, like, what are you doing calling me?" And he says, "Well, I heard you're getting some results with my programs." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely I am. Like, thank you so much. You're my mentor." Like, I felt like I knew this man and I'd never met him in my life, right? He had such a big impact in my life for the things that he had helped me accomplish when really he did nothing. He just helped me understand that there's a different way of thinking to get different results. But anyway, here I am. I'm just like floored. And he says, "Well, how would you like to have your own business doing what I do and teach and train our programs?" And I was like, "Absolutely." He says, "Well, fly down to Toronto next week and spend a week with me." And so I did that. I didn't think anything of it. I just took action. I booked the plane ticket. I took the time off work. I flew down and I went through the Thinking and Results Practicum, which is it's the program that we facilitate to help people through PMA coaching. And I did this practicum and I came out the other end certified and started helping people with PMA coaching to achieve the things that they want to achieve.
Wow. That's cool. That's really cool. How long did you stay in the car business after that?
Funny enough, one of the things that we teach is tear barrier. And I bounced off it several times trying to exit the car industry to go out on my own coaching.
Right.
And it took another 4 years of working full-time, operating a full-time business, and coaching part-time to decide that I was going to take charge, take my time back, take my life back, and help people doing the things that I've really enjoyed doing.
Awesome. Wow. So PMA, I'm going to take a stab at it. Positive mental attitude. Am I right? Or did I blow it?
No, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Okay. Right on. Well, so why don't you tell us a bit more about the coaching business? I know that you focus on a number of different areas. I think there's 12 key lessons that you do focus on in the results program. So perhaps you could tell us like who your ideal clientele is and how you come about finding them. And then two, what are maybe one or two topics that you'd like to take a deeper dive on and share with our audience some teachings?
Absolutely. There's so much. It's always so hard to kind of go, hey, like this is, what it is. PMA coaching has evolved over the years because it really started out originally as, self-help, personal development. And then I realized that when I started to, I guess, change some of the things that were inside of me, my businesses started to change. So then I started seeing success on the business side of things and other business owners seeing that. So then the portfolio turned into a lot of small business owners that started working with PMA coaching. And what I recognized over that time is it wasn't the business necessarily that I was working with. It was the individual of the business. It was the ownership. It was the owner. And when we started to make changes personally, everything changed business-wise. So everything kind of trickles down from the top and up through the bottom is how it goes, right? It's, and then it came to a point of people were always asking, like, what does PMA coaching do? And it was so many different things. And it came down to we help individuals and business owners live a life that you don't need a vacation from. Because that's going to be different for everybody. balance is different for everyone. And it's hard to kind of put that into a structured formula to say, this is what you should be doing in your life. It's what makes you feel good? What makes you feel fulfilled? What do you want to spend your time doing? Right? Maybe what you're actually currently working at to have an income isn't what your passion is. Right? And it's finding your passion that fuels the other things. All of a sudden we find a passion and you want to do more in business because you want to do more of your passion. So they go hand in hand. So the people that we look to work with the most are forward-looking people that really want to make a change, but don't necessarily know how to do that, right? Like we have this desire. So if you have this feeling inside of you that goes, hey, I really want to do more. Like I really do. And I want to experience this in my life. And, I want to have this. And these are the milestones I want to hit, but I'm not quite sure how to do that. Or I'm too scared to do it because I've never done it before. It would take too much time. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. If these are the type of things that, you think about or come across your mind, you're a candidate for PMA coaching. You've got to be willing to make a change. That is, we don't work with everybody, and sometimes there's better solutions, depending on where you're at. So we offer an interview process to make sure that this is going to do for you what you intended to do. Because maybe you just need to build a little bit of self-confidence, right? Maybe you don't need a coach by your side to do that, right? There's things that we can recommend, but maybe you want to build that self-confidence and you want to go from an employee to being self-employed, doing what you're currently doing. That would be something that we would love to work with you on. Maybe you've just gone through a divorce, or maybe you just sold a business. Maybe it's you're going into retirement and you're not sure what life looks like. Right. So anybody who wants a little bit of help, like planning, creating a clear vision, or getting unstuck from current results that you're facing right now, we should talk.
Sorry, go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, well, you're clearly a man of many side hustles, and we've kind of already talked about a few of them, and one that I kind of want to get into would be the NFT Sunday Madness. Is that a full-time gig, or is that just another side hustle you got?
So NFT Sunday Madness, you can see the smile on my face. Sometimes you accidentally find things that make you happy. Something about these JPEGs that have crypto attached to them just make me happy. So December 5th, 2021 is when we got into NFTs. And my brother said to me, or I said to my brother, I was like, hey, do you know anything about these NFTs? Because I started hearing like a little bit of a buzz about them. And he's like, yeah, I bought one the other day. And I was like, well, what did you do with it? He said, well, I sold it. And I said, well, what'd you make? He says, I don't know, 60, 80 bucks, something like that. I was like, cool. Well, how do I buy one? And he showed me the site to get onto it. So by December 7th, I was getting in, and I had bought my first NFT on a drop. Murder Beats put out a drop, and I just got this rush of like, wow, this is fun and cool, right? And I started like digging into it a little bit more, and I started buying all these NFTs because I just thought it was so cool. I started flipping them, and I was making a little bit of money, and I was like, what? This is like trading cards for big kids, but I didn't know there were so many different things attached and behind them, and so I really went, okay, there's something here. And what I heard was NFTs had been around since 1994, since the internet was invented. But nobody really, talked about them. But they were here then, and they're here to stay. And then I started hearing things about like smart contracts. And then I started investigating the artist side of things. So there's so many different areas of NFTs. It's like, what one do you want to go into? The one I went into in the beginning was artist-created NFTs. So I started reaching out to people that were creating the artwork, because I wanted to be a creator. I automatically applied to be a creator. NFT Sunday Madness, if you look, December 5th, I believe was the Sunday. Right. So it started on a Sunday. It was like a family get together, and every Sunday now it's a big thing, right? Like NFTs are a big thing. So I created a website. I created socials. All of a sudden I had investors like calling me like, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? And what I recognized is I knew just about as much as most people knew about NFTs. So I went, okay, what is this really? And I just decided it's going to be whatever I make it. So I started investing into the artists, and I started talking to them, and I created a website, and I've got an artist and the apprentice, and they're working together, and their collections are growing side by side now. We're promoting, we're having fun with it. The community of people that you can build around this is so cool. And like, you just start to learn different things from different parts of the world and different ways of doing things. And people are reaching out and contacting you. And all of these things are happening. In the meanwhile, you're still buying things that are, some of them are appreciating, some of them are dumping into the toilet. You're not really sure. So it's really risky business. It's not financial advice. I always say that because you hear everybody say, this is not financial advice, but it's a heck of a lot of fun. So if you like to, I guess, explore, and this is what I have to say about NFTs. You got to give it 50 hours. Study it for 50 hours. Make your own educated decision if it's for you or not. For me, it is. Because now we can do things like coaching contracts on NFTs. And they're smart contracts with everything in behind it, right? I can't wait to the point in time where I get to buy my first house on an NFT or purchase a vehicle on an NFT, because it's so transparent and it's so there. You can see every little detail. Very, very cool. Mm-hmm. So it really caught my mind. So that's where we're at right now. We've got the website. We've got the socials. Things are happening. There's NFTs I purchase. I'm making 10 times my money on. There's NFTs I'm purchasing that are sitting stagnant. And there's some copyright infringement ones that are taken out of my account, because you learn as you go who you're buying from and what you're doing. So it's a very, very interesting topic.
That's cool. Do you guys have like a Discord community or anything like that?
So there is, I know the Discord is like huge with all of this. I am so new to it. I've created a Discord, but we haven't put anybody in it yet. It's just there for, we know it's ready, but I've tried to be part of other people's just to kind of see like what it is and what it's about. But I love the community aspect of it. So there will be a Discord for sure.
Yeah. Discord seems to have a good community aspect for sure. I'm in a few of them, and people are very interactive, and you get to kind of get everyone's side of things, and some trolls, but a lot of people are just there to actually have fun. So,
right.
Do you have a favorite NFT? Like, I know some of them are crazy expensive, and maybe not one that you own, or maybe it is one that you own. Is there any favorite artist or favorite NFT that you?
So the Psycho Kitties, I like that drove me through the roof. It's what really got me hooked, because it's like, if you're an adrenaline junkie, you may as well get into NFTs. Because that's what it is when you're waiting at the door to get into these drops, and you're there for an hour before you get in to make your purchases. And you could end up with an NFT that, could yield you $40,000 in a day, or, you can hang on to these things for future investments. It's so cool to kind of, see that and be part of that and get in. So that kind of adrenaline rush got me going, sucked me in. So like, I like artist-based. So Psycho Kitty right now, and the robot, the alpha bots that just dropped out. Those are so cool. And just kind of looking at like, they have a lot of AI artwork now, and I wasn't too fond of it until I started buying some of the World Gallery, and just looking at it actually has like this cool thing. I didn't realize how much I really appreciated art. But when I look around my office, I go, I got my guitar here, I got cool books here, I like art stuff. And this is just another way to enjoy it. So
that's cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing about your NFT story.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. It's so funny. If I get going on NFTs, we could fill this whole thing up. I could put my iPad. I created my own website simply because the people who provided the website, it's not fast enough. I can't find my inventory. I had to inventory my own NFT collection because I I couldn't. The site can't keep up with what we're doing, and it's frustrating using like a choppy site to see your stuff.
Yeah.
Well, way over my head. I don't know. I remember like if it's literally like November, I was like, okay, non-fungible token. I know what that means. I felt super cool, and that's about all I know. So suppose I'll have to dig in maybe 20 or 40 hours into it and find out a bit more. Matt, you're a consultant and business owner, and you have a couple of businesses. So why don't you, we've talked about PMA. Why don't you tell us a bit more about the garbage business or the dumpster business you talked about, and then I think you just dropped something about the car business. So let's find out more.
We've been trying to keep the car business stuff under wraps, but
okay.
I mean, direct dumpsters. What can I say? It was my first like real brick and mortar business, and my mentor always taught me this. He says, if you hate something more than you love it, you'll attract it. Okay. If you hate something more than you love it, you'll attract it. So what had happened to me is I had bought a new home, 2 new babies at home. We're furnishing, we're changing diapers, we're doing all the things that new homeowners do. And I had so moved into an area where I was limited to a little black bin filled with garbage every 2 weeks. Well, that was good for about 2 days. So I constantly had like black garbage bags piling up in my garage, in my new home, which I'm like trying to take ownership of and be proud about. And there's garbage bags there, right? So I'm always thinking, how do I get rid of this garbage? How does that happen? Oh, I don't like this. Oh, this is making me mad. There's cardboard flying around in the trees. Like I couldn't keep a wrap on it. And I was at the car dealership one day doing an appraisal on a little truck with this big honking hitch in the back of it. I'm going, this isn't safe. Like, so I had to ask the client trading the vehicle. I said, hey, what are you doing with this? And he says, I tow a dump trailer behind on the weekends, and I do garbage removal. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, you're full-time military. You got 5 kids at home, and you're doing this on the weekends. How much money can you possibly be earning to make this worthwhile to take that time away from your family? And he says, about $1,000 a weekend. So I said, well, $4,000 extra a month. And I went, huh. I looked at the salesperson that was helping him. I looked at the customer. I said, I'm going to buy a garbage company. They laughed. I laughed. And I went home that night and I bought the garbage company. I Googled it. And I found the equipment in Kelowna, BC. And I messaged the seller. And within 3 days, I had built a business plan on my iPad. I had opened up, I incorporated the business already. I went and opened up a bank account, and I said to the bank, hey, I need a little bit of money. I got some. I need some of yours. Here's my plan. It was on an iPad. I handed it over to the banker, teller, and she's like, what do I do with this? And I'm just so excited. I'm like, hey, I'm buying a business. Let's do this, right? And from there, we ended up with Direct Dumpsters. So Direct Dumpsters opened in 2012. The first rental we ever had almost put me out of business because I was really motivated to do business, but I wasn't a smart business person. In fact, one thing you should figure out when you're lifting stuff is how much things weigh. And the first dumpster, I allowed somebody to fill it to the top with dirt. And they're like, can I put this in here? And I was like, yeah, fill it to the top. And if you can put it in, I'll pick it up, take it away. That wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. So it was a really interesting learning curve from not having a business to having a business to not knowing what to do in business. Had to learn very, very quickly how to do that. So that's how Direct Dumpsters happened, and it still operates today. In fact, you never know. Maybe we'll look at a Halifax location at some point.
Nice.
Pretty quick. I was just down there, and we seen one of our local competitors that are up here down there, and I was like, "Whoa! How did they beat me to this?"
That's funny.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, about Direct.
And the other business we're not ready to talk about yet. Is that what you're saying?
Talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
It's so funny because, again, I spent a long time in the automotive industry, about 17 years, and I'd worked from being a service advisor all the way up to being a general manager of a car dealership. My last stint was sales manager at a busy Dodge dealership. And when I left in 2019, I said I'd never do it again. I was done with, on one hand, in my coaching business, I'm helping people. I'm helping them earn more money. I'm helping them have better relationships. I'm helping them walk on top of their business instead of working in it. I'm helping them in all kinds of physical ways, mental ways, all kinds of different things. On the other hand, when I was in the automotive industry, it was, I'm trying to maximize my profits. The two didn't go hand in hand with me anymore. I couldn't, even though I loved the automotive industry and it did so many awesome things for myself and my family, I've always held my head high in it. But there's always been this weird gray area of, why is it that Nathan can come buy a Volkswagen from me for $20,000? Okay, it's listed for $20,000. Nathan comes in and he negotiates a deal for $18,000. Nathan gets a good deal and he walks away and he feels happy. And then Nick comes and I have the same Jetta for sale, same Volkswagen, it's there, and it's listed for $20,000. But Nick doesn't negotiate, so he pays $20,000 for the Jetta. And he walks away and he's happy and I'm happy. And Nathan and Nick bought the exact same vehicle from the exact same place, from the exact same person, but Nathan paid $2,000 less than Nick. I couldn't justify this in my head anymore, and it didn't make sense. So I said I would never do it again. Somebody's got to do it. I get it. Buying a car should be a really awesome experience, and I think for a lot of people it is. But coming from the industry, understanding how the money is made and how Nathan can pay $2,000 less than Nick did because he's a better negotiator, again, didn't make sense to me. So it wasn't until I had a group of people come to me that had the same distaste for the industry, bring me a booklet of a new way of doing business and a new concept and a new idea and a new design of, an integrity pricing model. In a model where you get to pick what you're purchasing and how much you're paying and how you would like to pay for it. And you get to pick the extras at the same price that everybody else pays, right? There's no, hey, Nathan, you're a great guy, so you get $1,000 less than Nick had paid. What if there was a way in the industry where I didn't have to meet 5 different people? I didn't have to meet a receptionist who put me to a salesperson, who put me to somebody showing me a car, to a manager coming in, telling me that I have to pay more, my trade is worth this, to go to a finance guy to tell me, hey, you need this warranty, you need this life insurance, and do this. What if we had a one guest, one guide way of doing business, where the same person that I purchased my vehicle from helps me set up my bank stuff to pay for it, helps me set up my tire repair, and helps me set up my oil change? What if that guide was incentivized to take care of that client through the entire lifespan that they're going to be inside of that business? Because that builds a real relationship inside of a guest guide component of way of doing business. And it means that what I say is what I'm going to do, right? What if we had true professionals helping our clients who want more and deserve a better way of doing business? So that's what really grabbed me with the new model that we're going to be bringing into a national brand. We've been working on this for quite some time. I've been keeping kind of hush-hush about it, and we just started actually shooting some videos and talking about it over the last couple of weeks. So this is ground floor. Everything's already in movement. In fact, day one was a couple months ago. We're already operating. It's just a matter of operating at a higher level and bringing it out to the public better.
Wow, that's really cool.
You're a big advocate of goal setting by having all these businesses. And how do you set these business goals? Do you have sort of like a broad goals in mind, or are they more direct, like you write them down and that's what you aim for?
Yeah, so one of the most important things that we do in PMA coaching is goal setting. And it's the foundation to everything, right? The only thing that we need to know for anybody is where we're at right now, an honest look of where we are at in life right now and where we want to go, right? So setting a goal, it's funny because most people think that they've set a goal. They just say, I want this, and I'm going after this. But it's not written down. It's not clear. And if I asked you what you're doing today to move towards it, you wouldn't typically have something to tell me that you're actually putting into action today to make it happen. And it's simple. It's just the awareness of knowing that we have to have a clear vision on where we're going. We have to really want it. And it's not just wanting it. We've got to understand why we want it. What is it going to do for me, right? A goal is not to get something. A goal is designed to make you grow. It's designed to stretch something out of you that you didn't know was there, right? It's designed to make you do things that before were not in possibility, right? So goals, super important. How do you do it? Well, you got to be laser focused. You got to sit down and you got to figure out what it is you actually want in life. See, most people, they don't really know what they want. They just go, well, I want kind of this and I want to do that and I want to do this. But, most times you find out it's a wish list. It's not they're saying I'm actually going to do this. There's no plan. It's just, that would be really cool. And it's not because they don't want to do it. It's because we're not taught that we actually have to put it into a goal form and set it up to a point where we're actually going to achieve it and put a timeline on it.
Okay. So this uncertainty that people have is, I was watching one of your most recent Facebook Live videos, and you talked about people knowing what they need to do to succeed, but they're not doing it. So why are people like this? Is it because they can't put goals down and be direct, or?
Well, I guess John Ruskin says it best. He says, education does not mean teaching people what they do not know, right? It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. So we think about that, right? So education is not teaching people what they don't know, right? We already know, because if we say, you should have done it, we go, I know, I should have done it, right? So it's the knowing-doing gap. As we get older, we learn more things and we do less, right? And if we start actually doing the things that we know how to do, we literally astonish ourselves with the results that we get. And we all know it, right? You guys are sitting there shaking your head right now. And for the viewers listening right now, you're shaking your head right now too, going, yeah, you're right. I should have done that. And I know I should have done that. So the real question is why are you not doing it? Right? And it comes down to habitual programming. And that's knowing doing gap too, right? Because we're programmed to do things a certain way each and every day. And that's a good thing. But we have to understand that those things got us to where we are right now today. So if I want something different in the future, I have to change how I'm thinking and behaving right now. And those actions will show up 2-3 months from now, right? So we really don't need more information to do a better job. We just have to start doing what we already know how to do.
Okay. So you took all this knowledge, and throughout your 17 years of the automotive industry, you were always working for somebody else. So what made you decide that you're going to stop, or you're going to start doing what you're already doing and just become your own boss and take control of your life again, as you say?
Yeah, you got it. It became frustrating. Now, I'll say this. The people that I had worked for a long time, 17 years, these people were my mentors as well. They taught me a lot about business. They helped me get to where I am today. I didn't have a mentor growing up. I didn't have a dad who was a big businessman or an investor or anything like that was teaching me these things, right? You're a product of your environment, really, is what happens. And it came to a point where we outgrew each other. I wanted to do more things in life. And the problem with working for somebody else is I was the star in someone else's movie. I was a supporting player in someone else's movie, right? And I wanted to be the star in mine. I wanted to be, the person that was helping other people kind of raise up. Now, I still feel I work for people because I still work for my clients, right? It's just now I'm in control of my time. So I had to make a decision that if I was going to do more of what I wanted to do, I had to be in control of my time. And it was a big kind of, that part of me working professionally for 60, 70 hours a week was a big part of my life. And I was scared to let it go, right? Because it was like, wow, where's the income going to come from? But you see, I was scared to sacrifice this thing that I called a job just over broke, because that's where it kept me, just over broke, because I spent everything that I had. So I had to have businesses to earn more money to do more things, right? And I had to go, I sacrificed that. Now, sacrifice isn't being a good thing to allow the good that I desired into my life now. Because now I had more time to take on more clients. I had time to focus on my own business. I had time to take a look at different opportunities. So I think I just came to a point where I outgrew where I was and I wanted more. So naturally, it was a fairly easy but not easy shift, because I'd spent 4 years prior to that trying to get out of it, and I would pull myself out, but I would bounce right back in. So I don't want anybody here listening thinking this was like, oh, it was so simple. It wasn't. It was not. It was simple. It was a simple decision, but taking the action was very, very scary in the beginning. But having, because I still get coached. So having a coach by my side, helping me through understanding why I'm thinking and feeling the way I am right now, to focusing on what I really want was a key component to all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. We could go on for a while here. This is fun.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, one of the questions that just came to my mind is, you're involved in a lot, and, you did mention time management and proper use of your time. So how does one, with the amount of interests you have in different businesses and just excitement about life in general, how do you manage your time? You have a family too. So I got a family and 3 kids, and time management is a difficult thing sometimes. So what are some tricks that you do to keep yourself on task?
So I have some non-negotiables, right? Non-negotiables. And these are things that I hold myself to. One of them is I love myself unconditionally every day. Okay. Now you're probably wondering, how does this? Okay. So the question about time management is so awesome. It's actually not time management. It's activity management. You see, we all have the same amount of time in a day, but it's what we're doing with the time that makes the difference. So there's activities in my day that are non-negotiables. One of them is a gratitude list, and that provides me the time and space to be grateful for all the things that I have in my life, and to also love myself. Say I'm getting better every day. I don't compete with anybody anymore. I compete with myself. I just want to be better than I was yesterday, right? So I look at that and I go, how can I love myself more? How can I, show more appreciation to other people? How can I be more grateful? How can I, do these things? So that is one thing that I do every single day, because it helps me lead into, the next step, which is meditation and visualization for a minimum of 5 minutes after I'm done doing that, thinking about my goal and feeling, and how do I interact when I reach that goal, and how do people interact with me, and really being in it, right? To bring my vibration up, to attract the people, things, and resources that I need that day to move me towards my goal. Recognizing that every single day I'm taking action. Then I read, right? So one of the things I do is I read. So that's a non-negotiable. We read every day. We review what we've read, and then I rewrite my goal. I rewrite the things that I want. So I give time to those things. And then I have some action-based activities. And that is what's moving me towards my goal. So today, this is one of them, right? Coming on here today with you guys talking, being prepared for this was one of my goal activities, right? It's one of the things that moved me one step closer to talking to more people, to helping them live a life they don't need a vacation from. But I also make sure that there's things in my day that make me feel fulfilled, that I enjoy doing, because I know there's going to be a lot of things in my day that I don't necessarily want to do. But the common denominator of success is doing things that unsuccessful people don't want to do, right? And it's not that I want to do it, it's creating the habit of doing those things to get the results that I want, right? And then it becomes a process. So there's certain things in the day that I'm going to do that are going to move me forward that necessarily I don't really want to do, but I've just made them a habit of doing things that create the success, that create the results that I want. So, understanding that you have working periods of your day. So your time blocking, your personal time of, giving back to yourself, your time blocking working, on your business and then in your business and then, doing things. So obviously there's still things like food you got to eat. So after here, I'll leave here and I'll drive into town and I'll have a nice, dinner with one of my business partners and we'll talk business, and then I'll leave and I'll come back home because that's where I love being, right? I can do most of this stuff from home. But then I'll block times for 10 minutes a day to play a guitar if that's what I want to do. If I want to learn a song this month, I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to do. But it's putting it in my calendar and holding myself accountable for doing it. So you've got to balance it out of doing things that move you towards what you want, and also things that make you feel good, and also things that give back to you as a human to make yourself feel good. And again, that balance is different for everybody. And that's why, we went with a life you don't need a vacation from. Because what does that mean to you? Because maybe you like working, 60% of the day and only relaxing for 10% and doing this for, the other percent. What is that to you?
Awesome. You mentioned a book, I believe you said The Science of Getting Rich earlier, right? Is that the one? Yeah. So it seems as though that was a starting point for you, and perhaps as you continue to read, you've come across, a couple others. So, in your coaching business or just in life in general, I like to give books out. So I'm a bit of a golfer, and I found a book called Zen Golf that basically, if you're randomly golfing with me, you're going to get that if you're the right candidate, if you're ready for it. So do you gift books to people? And if you do, what are a couple that you really like to give out?
Nick, man, I love that you said that, because you and I think a lot of alike. I actually carry books around with me. In fact, I just put an order in for 30 of these ones. You Were Born Rich.
Nice.
You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. So I just got my shipment of 30 of these.
Nice.
We decided we're going to put a masterclass on with this book, and we're going to tear it from corner to corner, and we're going to do an 11-week program around it, and it's going to be so awesome. So You Were Born Rich was, a staple. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles was like the one. Is such an easy read, and it's so funny because this little piece of paper you can see I have typed up. I found this in a wallet. I was going through my drawer the other day, get my passport, and I found this in a wallet from 15 years ago. This is one of the first things that Bob told me to memorize, commit it to memory. So I typed it up and I put it on a piece of paper, and I would pull it out whenever I could. And it's a quote from The Science of Getting Rich. And it's the syllabus. And it says, "There's a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Okay, there's more to this, but what I loved about this is it talks about the law of perpetual transmutation. And these are all universal laws, and they're the same for me as they are for anybody else, right? Same as the law of gravity. Works for me the exact same way. So like all this stuff it's always been here. It's in the books that we're reading. So Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Bob read that every day for 60 years straight. And he did pretty good in life. Okay. So Think and Grow Rich is another one of the books that we tear apart. I've been reading this copy that I have behind me for 10 years now. And it's marked up and it's got sticky notes in it. And it's not just about the books you're reading, it's how you're reading them. Are you actually taking the information out of it and applying it? Do you understand it? Can you explain it to someone else? So when we get into books, we study them like scientists. We can spend months on the same book.
That's such a good point. We had a guest on a number of episodes ago who coaches financial advisors, and one of the things he had said, as he's a voracious reader, I think he had an even more intense word for it than that, but he had said, every time I'm reading a book, I'm looking to see what I can get out of it to help coach my advisors. And it was a bit of a learning point for me, because you had mentioned earlier the shelf help, which I fall victim to, or I have in the past. And because of that, and in particular what we're talking about today, it's just ringing more true to take these deep dives, especially on some of those classics that you've talked about. So I'm very excited for this. Thank you for that. We're getting pretty close to an hour's time here, and we don't want to take up much more of your time. But one question I like to ask at the end of a podcast is this: what question do you wish people would ask you more?
Wow, that is a really good one. What question do I wish people would ask me more? I wish they would ask me how to reach their big, big goal.
Okay.
I just like talking about goals. So anything goal related. Right, we can really resonate there, and we can talk about that for hours.
And do you think people, they're reluctant to ask that question, or it just never crosses their mind to say, "Geez, who can help me reach this?" I'm too scared to tell anyone what my dreams and aspirations are. That type of thing. What is it?
Well, it's amazing. It's so funny because sometimes my clients actually don't want to tell me what it is they really, really want, because they know we're going to move towards it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
It's like one of those things, like even when you were talking with Bob in a training session, like you had limited time and you're there with many people. If you told Bob you wanted to do something, boy, you better have wanted it really bad, because you're about to be put into action. And, I find that it's, a lot of people, they don't talk about it. They really want these things, right? It's the thing when they're driving down the road and the music's playing on the radio and they start thinking about it, they start smiling. You get that smile on your face, and then all of a sudden you're like, I couldn't do that. It takes too much time, too much money. That thing right there, I want you to tell me about that. And that's what a lot of people are scared to do, because it's like, oh, who am I to think I could do that, right? Their self-limiting beliefs, even before they get it out, hold them back. And they're like, I don't know if I can. So, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's really neat. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us today. We always like to let our audience know where they can find you if they're intrigued by what they heard. I'm certain most would be. So where can people find you and your businesses?
Yeah, you got it. The best way is at PMAcoaching.ca. There's a contact form there. You can actually book my time automatically right on there. We've got to a point where we are really busy, so we just put it up there. So if you need a half an hour or 15 minutes, it's there. There's set times that we can chat. Other than that, you can reach out on socials as well. But I'm always somewhere, very easily accessible.
That's amazing. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us on the Interesting People You Meet podcast. You definitely fit that category for sure. Thank you so much for everything you shared today.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Nathan.